Hey guys, how you going? It's Vol here. Yesterday I played in an Infinity tournament. So yesterday was the 27th of November. Always good to do a date stamp on these videos because I know a lot of things change in strategy games over time. But yesterday I was at a Infinity tournament in Auckland, New Zealand. We had 12 players. And it was quite a special tournament for me because I was playing Morats, the Morat Aggression Force, which is a subsection, a sectorial of the Combined Army. And it was the very first time for me playing them. I'd spent a little bit of time planning it. In the lead up to the tournament, I was maybe going to play Combined Army Vanilla or Morats, depending on whether the Morats actually showed up in the mail, because I ordered them a few weeks back. But on the Monday before the Sunday of the tournament, with 6 days to go, they showed up, so I spent all week preparing them. Now, just right from the outset, I want to say that this particular video will be about the tournament and about my experiences and the lists that I actually played in the events that happened at the tournament and the tables. I will do a separate video covering Morats in general. So there'll be a video which I'll put out later where I'll just go through each individual unit profile and I'll talk about each individual choice and some of the overall thoughts about Morats as a subsection, as a sectorial in general. So that will be the overall generic strategy talk. This talk is specifically about the experiences and the discrete events which took place yesterday. I've got some Prisma photos here which are quite nice, just as taken throughout the event. All of our usual people from the New Zealand meta were there, plus a few people coming up from Wellington. But yeah, had a really good time. There were 6 tables, of course. Whereabouts should I start? One thing I'll have a look at is the lists. So let's go. The 3 missions being played were Capture and Protect, then there was Comm Center, and then there was Nimbus Zone. And when you're creating lists for an event, there are various different dynamics that you can take into account. You could, for example, go, well, I'm going to create one list which is going to be good against these factions, and another list which is going to be good against these factions. Or you can say, well, I'll take this list and use it if it's a very dense table that I end up in, or this list if it's a very open table with a lot of fire lanes. But what most people do is they base their lists around the missions, and that's what I decided to do for this one. So the first list, the main distinguishing feature of it is I'm using Kornak as my lieutenant, and I wonder if we can grab a picture of him. I might even just bring across the Infinity catalog if I can. Here we are here, and I'll just actually add some pictures to this little spiel. Kornak Gazrod, he's a special character, and he's got Strategos level 1. So the reason why I wanted to play him is that he allows your lieutenant order to be part of the pool. And if you're going to make a mad dash for the objective in Capture and Protect, like if you're going to use a specialist in one group to actually press the button on the console and then send one guy into the objective, having 11 orders to start with, or 9 if your opponent has reduced that by 2, is better. Morats are also quite intriguing in that if you lose your lieutenant, most of your warriors have the Morat special rule, which has veteran, which means that they ignore loss of lieutenant. So you can be a bit more disposable with Kornak. A lot of people, I hear them say, oh, Morats are just immune to loss of lieutenant, they just don't care about it at all. Not true. If you hear somebody saying that, it's kind of misleading for newer players. In reality, it's just a mitigating factor. I mean, your remotes, like your Icadron Batroids, your R drones or whatever, your Predators if you've got someone which in a link team, these all become irregular under loss of lieutenant, which kind of sucks. So it's not the be all and end all of stopping loss of lieutenant or anything. The other thing about Kornak Gazrot is that he could form a Harris link team with Suryats, and more recently the wiki got updated to show that he could form a Suryat link team, but a one-off. So I take this guy with the HMG and the Raktarak, which is quite important because when you've got the Raktarak, he's actually a specialist. So if you want to advance and kill things with Kornak, you can bring your Raktarak along and press buttons. So that's one of the other reasons that I decided to play that particular Harris. Then I've just got the usual cheerleaders. You've got the Icadron Batroids, some Dacheratsi, Krakot Renegade, all just pretty stable choices. The Zerat Hacker, I feel is not a very good specialist, but it's the only thing you really have in terms of infiltrating specialists. And also, because we were playing Nimbus Zone, I thought that if I end up using this list on Nimbus Zone, which I really wasn't planning on doing, at least the Zerat Hacker's there with the +3. So that's quite important. And of course, the shining star of Morats, the main reason why I actually consider Morats to be playable is that you can link up your Hungaries with the OzNat. And I'll have more to say about that a bit later, especially in my strategy video. But the idea being that this list being based around capture control, you form the link with the OzNat, and then the OzNat fires these smoke grenades, these light smoke grenades, and you just cover the map with them. You put it onto the console, press the button, you open it up for the beacon, and you fire the smoke onto the beacon, and then you run somebody up to the beacon and grab it and pull it back. So that was the game plan, that was the strategy I had in mind, and this whole list is designed around that. But the OzNat enables that. Also, if you're in a good position where you can get the smoke down early, because the Hungaries are so fast with 6.6 speed, that makes them quite different to the Guangxi link you get in Imperial Service, where the Imperial Service link is doing a similar thing. You've got cheap troops attached to a light smoke grenade launcher with Ballistic Score 14 effectively, but they're not as fast as these guys are, or good in close combat. So there are a lot of offensive potentials here, a lot of offensive capabilities which you don't quite get the subtleties of with other sectorials. Got the medtech as well, just for completed classifieds. That can be quite important as a tiebreaker. And I think I included one Yalgat. Yeah, there's the one Yalgat with a multi-sniper rifle. The marker at track is better, but since he's your only MSV that you have access to, you've got to take him. Because smoke is so easy to get off with the Dacheratsi and the OzNat, you want something with MSV. So that was my first list. The second list that I was playing here is basically featuring a Tritak Anyat. And the list is sort of based around her and some of the things she can do, as well as the Yalgat Harris. So Tritak Anyat is one of the dire foes, and she's the main thing that makes this link team different from just a Fusilier core link team. So here's Tritak Anyat here, just pictured right there. And the thing that makes her really special, in fact, I'll go to Army Builder for this. In fact, no, I'm not going to open Army Builder because, how should I put it? I think we've already got the list open here. So she's got smoke grenades and EM grenades. So those are two things which really benefit from having a core link team where you've got +3 Blister Skill and +1 Burst. The Fusiliers can't quite pull that off. So she's a specialist, she can hit buttons. K1 Combi Rifle is something you don't really have access to with, say, a normal fire team. And the grenades just make her really special for taking out those tough targets. And in the meantime, you've just got a very heavy core link. The big downside to this list, of course, is that you also want your OzNat and the Hungaries in a core link as well. So you start the game with these guys, you try and throw them away in a suicide sort of mission, and then you spend a command token to move the core link over to Anyat and her crew, the Vanguards. But you can't use both at the same time. So if you're going second, it can be quite troublesome because you're not really starting Anyat with a link unless you want the Hungaries roaming free. So that is a weakness of this list, and one thing I don't like about it. But I was willing to go with the drawbacks just for the benefits. Of course, one thing you can keep intact is the Yalgat Harris, which I thought was really cool. And one reason I'm sort of going to the lengths to fiddle this into the list is that the Nimbus Zone mission that we're playing in this tournament allows you to destroy the consoles, and that's something you definitely want to do if you're going first, because you'll only have so many orders to actually walk onto the consoles you want, or the antennas, and press them, and you have to deny your opponent from getting them, because as soon as you've touched them, you can't score from them after that. So if you're going first, you want to press the buttons with your Zerat Hacker, which I've included in this list as well, and then you can use your missile launcher from the link team. Or if the missile launcher isn't really going to be doing that well because it's not part of the link, you can use your Yalgats who have Panzerfausts. And the great thing about the Panzerfausts is that they become burst 2 because of the link, and you can use your Icadron Batroids to refuel them because they've got baggage, and once you run out of ammunition, grab more ammo. So that was sort of the game plan for the third mission, Nimbus Zone. And the second game with Com Center, I was also sort of planning on playing Tritech Anyat for that, but it would depend on the table and the opponent. If I felt that I needed a bit more aggression and the firepower that Cornac brings with his good ballista skill, I would have gone for that. So that was the idea behind the lists. I'll say more about like the individual troop choices and Morats in general in my other video coming soon. But the strategy and the game plan for this tournament was basically to try and win game one with Cornac, and then try to take Anyat in the second two games. Alright, I think it's time to bring up some pictures, and we'll just have a brief talk through the actual games, and I won't dwell on too many of the details. The first round was against my buddy Garth, who plays Japanese Sectorial Army, and I won the lieutenant role and took first. You can see me deploying here with the Pretas, the Link team. I use these alien xenomorphs as proxies for the Hungries with the Osnat there, and of course you've got the Suryat and Cornac over here, and this is an R drone down the bottom left. Zerat just deploying right next to the console to press that first turn, as is the plan. If you can see this blue box here, we find out later that my opponent has hidden deployed a ninja killer hacker right there, so that's bad news for the Zerat. So Cornac deployed fairly centrally here. We've got a Krakot Renegade which has rolled +3 physical and regeneration as the metachemistry, so he's forward deployed up here. There's Dr. Worm in the top left. So we've got the Yalgat sniper in a prone position, just looking down this alleyway here where this yellow strip is, because the other console is over here. I'm just trying to guard the approach to it if he decides to go after that later. Then there's his deployment. So he's running this model here as a Warcore. We've got a total reaction bot, Spitfire, Aragoto. This model over here is a Ruishui with the sensor bot next to it. This orange marker over here is a mine from Eureka Oda, mine laying. And this Yojimbo token here is the actual beacon that I'm trying to go after with a Kaisotsu hacker here. And on the other side of the deployment zone, there's his Link team. He's got a missile launcher here. And then the rest of them is just scattered around. Okay, so first turn, first order of the tournament, sending out the Osnat to put down the smoke very easily. So what this allows me to do is, this template, by the way, isn't actually situated there physically, it's just a bit closer, we're just putting it to the one side. So the Zerat moves in with the first short skill, the ninja hacks her, so she uses Carbonite just to avoid dying, and the Carbonite works, which immobilizes him. So I then press the button with the Zerat because that's so crucial for me to actually get that done. Luckily pass the roll, and then I can actually have this sort of hacking trade-off with the ninja, or try and kill it. So I decided to immobilize him one more time, but ended up being a result of nothing getting done. So the Zerat and the ninja had a standoff, but luckily I managed to press the button, so accomplished that. The backup plan, of course, was to have just moved up with the Osnat and tried to take him out with a Predator chain rifle or something, with the double burst from the Link team. So, having tried that, the Predators now move out to this position, fire the smoke over here underneath this bridge where the Neon Lotus setup is, and the enemy beacon is right underneath that bridge. So the plan is to move up with the Krakot Renegade. So, what actually ends up happening, I'm not sure if I've got a photo of this. This is probably the most crucial moment of the game. The Krakot, pictured here, walks out around here with tons of orders to spare. And when he gets to this point here, he gets shot at by the Warcore, or flash pulse by the Warcore, which is further north of this image. And to be able to get to the objective, I need to survive 2 attempts. I make a short skill, then dodge, short skill, then dodge, then I'm clear of it. If I lose to the flash pulse, it blinds me, I can't make attacks. You need attacks to pick up the beacon, that's as part of the scenario. So, because I'd boosted physical from the metachemistry, I'm on 16 to dodge, he's on 13 to hit with the flash pulse, and then if he does win the face-to-face roll, I can still pass the BTS save. With 2 attempts, I think that his chances of getting that done were a little bit less than 50%, but he rolled a crit on the first attempt, which was really frustrating because it means my entire game plan for the scenario has basically been downed. What I probably should have done is to have fired more smoke grenades into this general region, but he had a missile launcher covering off this part as well, which is why I've got one smoke template here and the other one over here, and I just ran out of orders with the Osnat getting that done. So a bit frustrating actually, and I felt that this would have been quite an easy game if the Krakot had managed that. What I ended up doing is moving the Krakot through anyway and actually allowing it to absorb the mine, because any further attempt to attack this later would have been faced with the mine. And to be fair, if I had survived the walker, I may not have survived the mine going off, although probably pretty likely that I'm gonna beat the mine, because I dodge it on a 16 or less, then I've got an armor save, so not greatly likely the mine would kill me either. So what ends up happening through this game is that we have quite a lot of shootouts. I tried every turn to grab the objective, but I wasn't doing any killing. And in his turns, he managed to start picking away at me, move his ninjas and his camo tokens through, eventually pressing the button here. He didn't manage to beat my sniper though. I had the Yowgat initially, and when he threw the smoke down and moved out with his bot, I managed to kill it. I've got the Datcharatsi around here with the smoke templates as well. So the Aragoto died to the Yowgat, which is kind of hilarious, so I was lucky in that respect. And then when he eventually moved his Rui Shui out, the Rui Shui, seeing that it couldn't really get that many kills, pulled back and ended up in a position right here next to the beacon. So even if I threw the smoke down next to the beacon, the Rui Shui is going to actually attack me with suppression fire. So we had his ninja hitting my Zerat as well, and killing it with a skullbuster or something, but because I've already pressed this button, the ninja can't actually go onto it itself now because I've already pressed it. He decides to reposition his missile launcher cleverly, so he's covering more of a line to the avenue I'd take for going after the beacon. And he had what? The ninja relocates. We've got Saito Togan there. Shinobu's actually up on the building like that, and he recamos all of them at this point. And then, so my second turn, what I'm doing is I'm moving out with the Osnat again, blocking off the missile launcher with the smoke grenade here, and putting another one down over here. And then I decided to send Kornak in, because I've made like a whole wall of smoke templates, as you can see here, along that alleyway, blocking off the missile launcher and the Warcore and the TR bot. So I'd even moved a Preta forward, broken out of the link. The Preta's the one painted with a little bit of green on its face and on the base, using an intuitive attack to kill the Ninja Killer Hacker with the chain rifle, so that was quite fortunate. But then I'm moving out with Kornak, the boss, the lieutenant. So he basically makes a dash down this alleyway of smoke, like the bridge of smoke, and he gets down the end. But unfortunately, what's waiting for him there is the Rui Shui. So Kornak is not looking great here, because the Rui Shui has assisted fire, which gives it shock, getting past Kornak's NWI. So Kornak has to basically move in, have a firefight with this thing, pick up the beacon, and move back and survive. What initially happens is that Kornak starts shooting at this thing, and I can't quite remember. I know that he survived the first shootout, and then for the second one, I think that he basically just had to sort of try and tank the shots. I might have taken it out of suppression fire with the first attack. I can't quite remember, but the only thing I do remember is that Kornak managed to actually get out with the beacon, luckily, which it was lucky. I mean, there was a pretty significant chance that I was just going to lose him in this attempt, but I didn't really have any other option. If I move with the Suryat, then unfortunately the Suryat is going to get hacked as well as shot by the Rui Shui. Maybe the Raktarak could have done it. The Raktarak was further back, but the Raktarak at least had a Vulcan shotgun, which may have fared better in this particular situation. But he still has to have one action where he picks up the beacon and then walks away, in which case I've expended my action, he's shooting me for free. So I thought that maybe Kornak would have been better with slightly better armor. Anyway, Kornak doesn't have enough moves, enough orders to get back to my deployment zone, so he comes back behind this this box at the middle of the table, and we've got a Preta guarding him as well. And from then on, it's just a matter of my opponent cleaning up. He just moves out with this Rui Shui and his missile launcher, and he just goes to town with the shooting, and he does really well with his dice rolls, beating Kornak in a roll where Kornak's needing like 17s to hit against the Rui Shui's 15s or even 12s. So that went well for my opponent. He takes out the Osnat as well pretty easily before I can nail him with the combi rifle. I've had to move down with the Yowgat at this point to reposition, so he's able to come up and press the button with his sensor bot. So after that, I was just in a really desperate spot. The beacon is out here, dropped by Kornak. Suryat moving out to try and kill his missile launcher. I had like 4 different firefights with him, and each time I lost. So unlucky not to beat the missile launcher with the Suryat in any of those like sets of 4 dice rolls. So last resort tried to send an R drone in to grab it, but couldn't. and then it was just an easy matter of him moving in with Shinobu. There's Shinobu there, and eventually putting down a smoke grenade next to my beacon and picking it up. So first game was a loss. Reflecting on the game, I think that the main reason for me losing is my choice of strategy. I decided just to make an all or nothing run for the objective and ignore his army, which would normally be a good idea, but he had a mine in place and he had a war core in place, and the odds just weren't that much above 50-50 that I would have actually pulled that off. I think that what I should have done in terms of strategy would be of just to try and wear him down, get into firefights, move out with Cornac and shoot some things, and just reduce the number of orders that he has going through to the end of the game. And then once I've taken out some of the threats, just move out with the Osnat link and just run over there with the Osnak and the smoke and the really quick pretters and grab it. I also won the lieutenant roll off, and I could have always just picked second. And although first turn is an advantage because you get to jump for the beacon before they can do anything about it, and because you can hit the console that you want, that's very important. So those are advantages. The disadvantage is that you're not getting the last turn, and the last turn is one where you can actually charge in, grab the beacon, and they can't retaliate and take the beacon off you. So that's why I think taking second turn may actually be better in this scenario. Although I hadn't really done enough analysis to sort of come to that conclusion wholeheartedly at the time of the game. So yeah, I think that I could have played this game better. I don't think it was a matter of me just being unlucky during this game, because a lot of things did go well. I had some crits, I had some good rolls. There were a lot of opportunities where I could have just lost the Krakot Renegade in that lead up. I could have survived the war core but died to the mine. Overall, I think my odds were pretty good to make that play with the Krakot, but yeah, it was not to be. So my second game saw me up against, and third game up against players who had also lost games, which means that I'm now sort of at the bottom tables. I decided to run my other list for the second game, which was Comm Center. I've got the Yalgat link here on top of some building, conveniently. Up against, this is my back line, the link teams here. Good old missile launcher. Note that this missile launcher is actually not in the link team right now, but he's lining up against some Kaisotsus. So my opponent, Chris, is the guy that I actually stay with in Wellington. Really grateful for the guy actually picking up for the airport and hosting me when I'm out of town. But yeah, this turned out to be a pretty one-sided game. For some reason, he's decided to deploy going first. He's deployed everything out in the open. So I just couldn't understand the thought there. I mean, he put all of his link team right out in the middle there, right opposite my missile launcher. So as soon as the missile launcher shoots, it actually clips like 3 of these guys at once, which was really surprising. And he had his bots on top of buildings and things. He's got a Lu Duan with Hollow Echoes up here, Karakuri, everything's out in the open. And he was just planning on moving forward with coordinated orders and just picking off the ejectors real quick. But he was up against Yalgat, Harris Link. He's up against eventually the Vanguard Core Link, the Osnat. There's a Zerat hanging around. He tried attacking me with his ninja sniper here, but he was up against like a Yalgat Link team, so that really didn't go well for the sniper. Other thing about the sniper is that he's up against not just my sniper rifle, but my Panzerfaust guy, who runs out of ammo pretty quickly, as you can see here. So yeah, just a really tough game for JSA. He does pick off one or two of the objectives closer to his side, especially once the ninja's revealed. But just taking mass casualties all through the game due to arrows. So when it was my turn, I really just started, shooting everything that was out in the open very easily. So yeah, really impressed with the Yalgat Link team though. I think the Yalgat by himself is not a very strong model, but in the Harris it's very useful because it doesn't take up your core, but the Harris itself makes just such golden use of your Panzerfausts, and the sniper rifle shooting 3 times through smoke is actually really strong. You can always find some good opportunities to apply that. So yeah, ended up being a case of me running in with the Hungary's Link, trying to get some chain rifles down on his ninja. The Zerat doing most of the work, pressing the buttons. But this was a mission where I could comfortably win by getting more points and killing more specialists and killing more army points, which is eventually what happened. He uses Engineer to repair the robot, but of course Engineer gets shot as well by the snipers. I think there's an Onu Waban which showed up eventually. Got the Vanguard into action after the Hungaries went down, trying to complete the classified, which was the forward observing one, telemetry I believe. Also took a few photos from other people's games. We got a Dragao, Major Kusanagi, there's Hector, sorry, not Hector, Hercules in somebody's deployment zone, the new Kaori Sentinels, I think this is a conversion for Chusa, or an older version of Chusa. And then in my final game, we've got Pano, so a vanilla Pano player, and this is Nimbusone. Ended up using Tritac Anyat as I prepared to, and I did not get to go first. My opponent chose first, as it is wise to. But as you can see from this table, the terrain really kind of sucks. This is just an open layout table. There's a massive forest in the middle, but there are massive fire lanes everywhere, which just really suit your missile launchers and sniper rifles. So I just thought this table design was shocking. I just can't, I mean, I guess you can. People were probably justifying it by saying, "Hey, there wasn't enough spare terrain to go around," but there was more. I think it was just silly to lay the terrain out in this way, because it just becomes a shootout. It becomes more about like long-range dice rolls than it is about positioning. My opponent immediately moved out with like this Father Knight here and gets shot by a missile launcher. Just Father Knight into the open, dead immediately. And then he tries moving out with Defersen on another side, and actually dies to the sniper rifle from the Yagat, or the Panzerfaust, like straight away. So it's two like massively expensive models dead immediately, like in the first 2 or 3 orders. Yaogat's just having huge fun. He moves out with his Spitfire and I think takes out my sniper rifle. Then moves up with his Hospitalia, revives Defersen, but just taking all sorts of fire through the Nimbusone, mind you, and connects one of the antennas, and that's it. So on my turn, the Zero moves up, connects the other antenna. I move out with my missile launcher, blow up the other 2 antennas, so that as the first player, his goal is to actually complete the antenna side of the mission straight away, so that I can't. So I sabotage that because he couldn't get there, and just blow everything else up. So we're even on that, which will allow me to win at the end of the game by having more specialists on the antennas themselves. So that just really hugely puts in my favor. He does manage to kill the Osnat though, so the Hungries are just running free. A new core link team formed with the Vanguard Yaogats. The Nimbusone has gone down because I've blown up all of the antennas, so just machine gunning him with the HMG there. Also, the Panzerfaust Lieutenant moving out. There's a Icodron right next to him for the reloads. The Hungries are trying to get to the Hospitalia behind the objective here, but of course getting shot as they move around. So here's the Hospitalia scoring some data from the data pack, from the data console there, but the Hungries are behind the crate here, as you can see, next to my HVT. He does move out with an Order Sergeant with a Spitfire, but although he does a little bit of damage, does eventually get killed by my Yaogats or my link team. Hungries try to go after the I love this. They try going after the Hospitalia, but they don't manage to kill him in close combat. They do wound him, but don't kill him. So the Hungry is sort of just getting slaughtered there. And then in my last turn, or second last turn, just moving out with the Link team, just because he's lost so many models, and the Link team has just become so strong relatively to all of his combi rifles, that sitting up in the middle of the table just makes a lot more sense, and it makes it easier for me to jump onto the objectives at the end of the game. So also moving in with the medtech, because I've got experimental drug as my data, as my classified, so I'm going to climb up and heal a guy for the last move. He's tried to move out here with this model as a Custodia, but it's representing a Locust. Moves within range of my Vanguard Hacker, which actually has Sucker Punch as an upgrade for the EI hacking device, and that kills him, so just another careless move. My opponent just making all sorts of errors this game. I guess he had sort of given up, you know, having had a pretty bad tournament so far. But yeah, it just ended up being an easy win. Got experimental drug, ended the game with Tritac and the hacker in base to base with some objectives. So picked up more data packs, picked up more classifieds, picked up more models, more specialists in range of the objective at the end. So that is how the tournament went. So I ended up placing 4th out of 12 people, which is a decent achievement. Morats are a lot of fun. They are not the best sectorial. When I compare what I can achieve with Morats to my normal army, the ISS, there's just no comparison. Imperial Service are just way stronger. I don't think any argument can really be made about that, but I like to take a break from Imperial Service. I wanted to show the other people in my meta that I just didn't want to take the most powerful faction every single time. I like my opponents to have a bit of fun too. Having said that, who knows? Maybe I will go back to playing some more Imperial Service in future. I'm very good with Imperial Service relative to my ability with other factions, and I think if the tournaments get a bit bigger and a bit more competitive, they may be the way to go. But I'd also like to be playing some vanilla Combined Army as well soon, because Combined Army are quickly becoming my fave. I'm really liking them. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled, guys, for the next video I'm going to be doing, which is going to focus on the Morats sectorial, where I'll actually go over all of the profiles, and I'll talk about what makes the faction good or bad, or what features it has, and how to play them, and how to build lists for them. So looking forward to putting that out for you guys. But anyway, had a really good time at this tournament, as usual. I didn't think the table layouts were that great, but the sportsmanship was there, and the games got finished in a timely manner, so props to that. And the tournament organization was pretty good too. So I think I'll sign it off there, guys. Thanks for watching as usual. More about Morats coming soon.